September 11th, 1992, Batman the Animated Series releases its 7th episode in the first season, titled Joker's Favor. This episode featured a litany of goons that the Joker has on his side in order to do his job in causing crime and defeating the Batman. However, one of these characters is a little different than the rest of them, and today we're going to get all into it. Just like a psychiatrist would your brain. Or maybe your childhood trauma. Because it is her birthday, I am going to give you a full character analysis and breakdown of the one and only Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, pleased to meet ya.
But I'm the one they should be scared of. Not you, not Mr. J. Because I'm Harley fucking Quinn.
Oh, hiya, B-Man. Harley Quinn here.
Get comfortable, this will probably be one of my longer videos because I have a lot to say about it. Grab your bacon, egg, and cheese. Period. And get ready to be educated about one of the greatest characters in media history. Also, it's summer in LA and I don't own an air conditioner, so the windows are just gonna be open. So if you hear anything or you hear like a cargo by or something or somebody screaming, you're just gonna have to use your suspension of disbelief and pretend I'm in Gotham. Maybe that'll make the video feel a little bit more cohesive. Batman the Animated Series is an animated TV show based on the Tim Burton Batman films, which, while people have a lot of opinions about the cast and other stuff that happens, I think that those films captured the vibe of Gotham pretty perfectly, and the show only continues to continue that. But this is another reason I do feel like she kind of does get disregarded a lot in terms of, like, comic book characters. We'll get into why she's so popular nowadays, but at the time of her introduction, she wasn't, in my opinion, anything that people were super paying attention to. However, unlike most other comic book characters, Harley Quinn's introduction was not through a comic book. It wasn't through a movie, it wasn't through anything like that. It was through a TV show that most people regarded was for children. Can you fuck off? We're not doing Catwoman today, we are doing Harley Quinn. His ass is not a hyena. After her introduction, they liked her character so much that they decided to keep her. Harley Quinn wasn't even technically named in the first episode of the show when they first made it. She was just supposed to be another henchman, and a female one at that, one that was kind of meant to be somewhat of a cheerleader. Isn't that exactly what a Harley Quinn does anyway? Isn't that what a jester does? They are a cheerleader for somebody who deems themselves more important. More on that. And because it was the 90s, she was also starting to appear in most, if not all, of the Batman video games. She became kind of an integral obstacle for him to have to face. Instead of just the Joker, you kind of had somebody who was in front of him as well now. So we're adding an obstacle for Batman, which is what's going to end up happening anyway, because as Batman develops in media, develops in different types of forms, develops in the comics, he's going to need more and more challenging things to do because we've already seen him do stuff. His whole point is he is a detective. He's supposed to figure stuff out. So by adding in a character like this that was originally just supposed to be kind of like a one-off into something that's a lot more, not only are we being introduced to Harley Quinn and figuring out who she is, but the writers are, and so is Batman. She is a brand new character that a lot of people don't even know what to do with yet. But after her original appearance in the Batman the Animated Series TV show, she very quickly became a comic book character. Her first appearance in a comic book was Batman Adventures number 12, and then her official, canonical introduction into the comic book world was, I believe, her Mad Love comic in 1994, which most people kind of regard as the original Harley Quinn comic. It has more about her than just her being kind of a side funny character. Her full legal name in the comics and in the general canon is Harleen Frances Quinzel. I think in another iteration early on, they called her Haley Fitzpatrick, which sounds like a more realistic name, but I feel like Harleen Quinzel is a little bit easier for people to be like, oh, I see. Okay. So essentially, her backstory goes like this. And keep in mind, again, she is a comic book character. She is a character that gets passed through lots of different mediums. So not these characters that are like that, they don't necessarily have a singular backstory. They might have like an abstract concept of what their backstory was, but they might not have very specific canon events. I've seen other comic book stuff. So, let's officially get into Chapter 1. Who is Harley Quinn, and why do we even care? Harley Quinn's backstory goes a little bit like this. Harleen Frances Quinzel was born into a essentially drug and alcohol and gambling addicted family. Her mother is either like gone completely, or she deals with alcoholism and is just kind of absent in that way, but she doesn't have a she doesn't have a mother figure to look up to. This is going to be very detrimental to her development. So we have the lack of the mother figure. That's going to be hard on a kid in general, but for women and girls especially, not having like a structured female to look up to is going to be a pretty hard loss at figuring out who you are, because you don't have somebody who knows who they are to look up to. That is a pretty common thing that happens to children when they're growing up, that like immediately messes up their like self-confidence. Now we cut to her dad, who is no better than that, really. He is constantly trying to either get rid of her or use her to make money to get some sort of alcohol, gambling. Maybe he has to pay some criminals back. Keep in mind, Harley Quinn is born and raised in Gotham. And she is a pretty prime example of how horrible this town is run, and how many problems there are, and how many children just get like kicked to the curb and left behind because everybody else is so busy dealing with other stuff or dealing with their other bullshit. And this is the exact criticism that directly relates to Batman and the social justice that he is then doing in the town. It's like, well, are you doing social justice? Because all of the systems are still in place to hurt and neglect people. So I'm also going to be giving my own professional mental health analysis on her, because though I am not licensed, I do know a lot about this stuff, and she is a fictional character and not a real person, so it's not morally unethical. Not that I think she would care that much anyway. For all intents and purposes, though, Harleen Quinzel was perfectly set up for failure. She was never expected to be anything other than she was. She was always going to probably be born into some sort of criminalness, you know, or adapted to being a criminal, because she doesn't really have anybody else in her life to keep her grounded, to relate to her, to make her feel like she's a human being. So her only other option would be to study what it's like to be a human being, and then maybe she can help people that way. But essentially, what you need to know is she had a bad childhood where she felt very isolated, and she was just kind of a watcher instead of an enjoyer in life. This was her first introduction into the interest in psychology, and I think her interest in the human mind does come very much from like, well, I'm a person, why didn't people treat me the same way as they treat everybody else? Again, this is a really common, real thing that people go through. That's why the Batman universe specifically is so awesome, and why I love it so much is because it reflects a lot of real human psyche that we don't get to see in a lot of other media. This is a very critical part of her character backstory. Something to remember about Harley Quinn and Harleen Quinzel is that regardless of who she presents herself as, she has empathy. It doesn't always extend to everybody, but she has empathy, and she does have, like, this need to want to be seen and to help other people. That's why she went into like medical care in the first place. Speaking of medical care, I don't have a lab coat, so this is just gonna have to do for the next part. Here we fucking go. Yeah, see, that's a totally different fucking character now. Something that I really want to take some time to emphasize, I don't care if you care or not, there is a difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a therapist. And I'm going to go over that really quickly just so you can understand how badass Harley Quinn truly is, okay? A therapist is somebody with a master's degree and then probably like some sort of state license that they have to get, and they are purely mental health based people. That's what they do. They're not able to give you medications, they're able to diagnose you with things, but they're not working from a medical standpoint. They're working from a purely mental health standpoint. They went to school, they have a certification, but they're not medical doctors. A psychologist is also not a medical doctor. This is somebody who has a doctorate, which doctorate is a type of degree. It doesn't mean you're a doctor. Doctors can have doctorates, but doctor comes from like Latin. It means to teach. It means specifically, hold on, I wrote it down because I'm smart. Okay, this is another cool thing I learned. So, the term doctor like as we know it today, or excuse me, doctorate, like as we know it today, does come from like medieval times, allegedly. This is what I found in my research, which is kind of fun because you know what else is from medieval times? Jesters and clowns and commedia dell'arte and all that fun stuff that is definitely not related to anything we're talking about. Oh, it was something in my eye. Hold on. As I was saying, it originates from formalism, which, if you don't know what formalism is, that's kind of like the cohesive agreement on something within the academic and artistic and like physiological communities. It means that they're all kind of agreeing on something, and because this is so old, that it's like, okay, that's like common knowledge now. So essentially the term doctor, or the doctorate degree, again, this means to teach, not the medical care version, it comes licentia docendi. Did I say it right? But that means license to teach. That's what a doctorate is. It means you are the highest level of learned in your profession, and so you are like the epitome of like the knowledge. You have as much knowledge as you can get in that degree. Again, it's not a license to do medicine. Do you know who does have a license to do medicine? A psychiatrist, bitch. Yeah, that's what I said. Psychiatry is the highest level of like mental health profession you can have. You have to go to medical school. It's like 12 years of school to get through this. And then you have to do residency. You have to like work somewhere for free so you can like a normal doctor does. But instead of doing like full body medical health, you're only doing mental health. However, they have the background in medical care that gives them not only more credibility, but it also helps them kind of just more... They have more resources and information to be able to get you where you need to go. A lot of psychiatrists are criticized for the same thing, though, because they're maybe being too medical about it and not mental health about it enough. But another important thing that I want you to know about psychiatrists is that psychiatrists are the only mental health professionals that can prescribe you any type of medication. Therapists cannot prescribe you medication. Psychologists cannot prescribe you medication. They will pass you on to a psychiatrist friend that they know, because psychiatrists are the like gatekeepers of the mental health care community. Harley Quinn, for all intents and purposes, is the highest level in her profession. What the fuck? The reason I bring this up is for two things. Number one, I want you to know how smart she is before we get into the rest of her story. And also, I've already told you a lot about her story, so that should really just go to show, like, what type of person she is and how humiliating and, like, degenerative that is that she gets ignored as much as she does. Number two, who's this, like, other guy that's, like, always attached to Harley Quinn? He's so fucking annoying. Everybody's always talking about him. Everybody's always like, oh, like, where's this guy? Like, who's that? And it's like, who fucking cares? Well, unfortunately, he isn't a part of her origin story, and that's what we're about to get into. Now that Harley Quinn is a psychiatrist, she's gotten all of her medical degrees, she's done everything she can, you know, to try to better herself in a society where she was born in the lowest level. Like, how fucking crazy is that? Like, people don't give her enough credit, and we haven't even fucking gotten to her, like, biggest accomplishments yet. Again, psychiatrist is the highest level of fucking mental health professional you could be. Do you think, use your noggins, use the life experience that you know and the people that you know and everything, is there a world where maybe the Joker saw this and wanted to take her down specifically because of it? Narcissist men and misogynistic men, they don't want women who are willing to do stuff for them. They want to manipulate a woman to want to do stuff for them. They want to take down somebody who is the highest in their profession, who is the best of the best, and they want to make her do ballet in a field of cows. But anyways, that's the whole basis of the story, is she was doing her job as a medical professional and trying to help somebody who was causing a lot of harm, and he was then able to emotionally manipulate her by telling her what she wanted to hear, because the Joker, we like to really coddle the Joker these days, but the Joker, for all intents and purposes, is a narcissist who doesn't care about anything but creating chaos. That's his character. And so I feel like people like to be like, oh, he's so smart, he's so interesting. And it's like, no, he knows how to manipulate smart people to get what he wants. And Harley Quinn is like the smartest person he's ever been able to manipulate. The Joker is not this like mega-brained super genius that people like to think he is. He's good at manipulating people to get what he wants, and that is how most men have stayed in power for the past like millennia, honestly. He is a perfect representation of that, and that's why it does really annoy me the way that they handle him in like current cinema. It's like, do you need to see a mental health professional? And the reason he was able to manipulate her is because he knew that she herself had childhood trauma that she was dealing with. He knew she had issues with romantic relationships, not even romantic relationships, just romantic, like any type of relationship in general, because she doesn't know how to connect with people because she grew up alone. The Joker is not this fucking, oh, Gotham didn't take care of me. Oh, nobody understands me. Oh, I'm just so funny and nobody gets it. That's not who the Joker is. I don't fucking understand that at all. It doesn't make any sense. The Joker is a narcissist man, like many other narcissist men in the world. He likes to laugh. He likes to act like a little boy as long as he can. And the whole reason why he's such an intense villain for Batman anyway is because Batman doesn't know how to figure him out. He doesn't know why he's doing these things. Excuse me. I'm getting so sad because people putting men on a pedestal just makes me cry. Harley is the person you guys are talking about. Harley Quinn, Harleen Frances Quinzel, is the person that would have taken that story to the accurate level that it was meant to be. She is the one who has been left behind by everybody. She is the one who tried to better herself for other people and try to make the world a better place, even though nobody else was willing to do that for her. Harley Quinn is the brains behind the Joker. Without her, he struggles quite a bit, and we see that time and time and time again in every single form of media that these two come up in, because he is nothing without her. She is the show. She is the one, and the only reason she even turned to crime instead of, like, healing in the first place is because he convinced her and kind of used the system against her to be like, Batman isn't helping you. These people aren't fucking helping you. They're not helping children. They're not doing anything. Is he going to do that? Are the criminals going to do that? Absolutely not. However, he was still able to use that system and the negatives and the contradictions that come within the political system of Gotham to use her to get what he wants. He doesn't want to change. He doesn't want society to be better. He doesn't give a fuck about any of that. He wants to do what he wants to do, which is create chaos and to piss off Batman because that's who he's really in love with.
I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I hate you, Joker.
I hate you too.
I hate you more.
I hate you the most.
Clown Prince of Crime? More like Clown Prince of cognitive manipulation. No, because that's the thing. He knows how to emotionally manipulate people, but then otherwise, like, everybody else is always fucking doing the work for him. Always. He's not, like, he's really not that smart. He just knows how to barrier himself with smart people and manipulate them into giving him what he wants. Harleen Quinzel, when she met him, she wanted to help him because she saw him as a human being. That's her job. That was her vocation. That it was her career. That was her life path, is that she wanted to learn about mental health so she could help people not feel the way that she did when she was a child. The Joker is a textbook narcissist. He uses people, he finds people, he love bombs them, and then he uses them, he manipulates them to do what they want, manipulates their emotions to make them think that he feels a certain way about them, or he's going to do a certain thing for them, or he's going to make life better for them in some way, and then he just constantly uses them and manipulates them until he's done. And once you're done with Harley Quinn, you can just go find a freaking another one. You can just go find Punchline. You can just go find somebody else. You can find literally any fucking desperate person that wants love, because our society, our world, doesn't really value it in its purest form as they should. They don't really value children. They don't value making sure that people have like a good setup to be better people. They just want to blame you for stuff when you aren't a good person because of your circumstances. Now, we don't always have like a set canon version of how exactly they broke up, but it does happen. In most iterations of the character these days, Harley Quinn is no longer tied to the Joker. He is now seen as mostly an origin story for her that she is then able to... some versions where the characters are still together, but for most of her media these days, he is seen as a villain in her story, and he is only seen as like an inciting incident to her becoming who she wants to be. Harley Quinn is kind of already set up to do this. I talked about her childhood a little bit, but I don't know if I mentioned that she was like a pro gymnastics, gymnastics gymnast. She was an amazing gymnast. That's how she got by in school a lot of the time, is because she would get scholarships from that. She's really funny. She's really like social, and she's really bubbly, and she is, all intents and purposes, like a really interesting, cool, authentic person that then got taken advantage of because somebody else couldn't handle to see that. Sound any type of way familiar? Maybe somebody you know, maybe it's happened to you. I don't know. Happens a lot. Men like to do this because they're pretty mediocre and they're pretty lazy. That's the thing. That's why men want to control you, so they don't have to try. It's like, yeah, I would like a life where I wouldn't have to do the dishes ever either, but unfortunately you're a human being, and that's part of our life cycle. You have to reap what you sow. But anyways, different versions of how they break up. Sometimes he dies. I know that happened in like Arkham Asylum video game. Sometimes he's like just gone, or he leaves or something, or some iterations it's even that he dumps her, which is, in my opinion, the most realistic version. When a narcissist like that kind of has you on their chain like that, it's really hard to get away because they have rewired your brain. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. You can look this up if you want to. They have rewired your brain to depend on them. And that's not something you can just walk away from or just leave. Your brain doesn't think to do that because your neurons and your brain cells and everything that's going on in there is wired to now be in servitude of this person because you think that's the only way you're going to get validation. Now, coming away from that, there are a lot of cool stories about Harley Quinn, how Harley Quinn found this validation later on, and those are a lot of the media, that the movies and the TV shows and stuff that I was always really tied to at first, when I was first introduced to the character in 2020, because I love liberation. And I think especially female liberation from toxicity and abuse is one of the most beautiful things that can ever happen. It's like, to me, it's like childbirth. It's like you just ripped a new one in like your reality, and now you're becoming you are kind of coming out this like crazy array of like everything you wanted to be the last like however many years you've been with this person, and it's gonna look messy, it's gonna look weird to other people, but at the end of the day, that's your authentic self finally being born and finally being able to show itself. And that's why Harley Quinn is such a complex character, because there is so much to her that we haven't even like fully realized yet, because she hasn't been away from the Joker for that long. Her origin story is just that. It's her origin story. Everybody has an origin story. Just because her parents weren't shot in front of her, outside of like an opera house, doesn't mean that her origin story is any less traumatic or interesting to add to her character. Every human being is different, and in my opinion, people who are born into poverty are a lot more interesting because they have to fight a lot more to get where they need to go. They need to, like, prove themselves worthy of being like given human interaction and human empathy, and rich people are kind of, I think, just kind of given that because they're seen as a higher social status. So while people do connect to Bruce Wayne, while they do like him, while they do relate to him, at the end of the day, in my opinion, he's kind of lame compared to a lot of other people that he fights, because those people had to work a lot harder to get the name recognition and the, you know, I mean, think about any character in the Batman series. Most of the heroes, and not even Batman, just look at DC in general, a lot of the heroes are people that kind of came from privilege. They experienced trauma, sure, but they still came from privilege. And somebody like Harley Quinn, I think it's a lot easier to kind of let her off the hook because of her past, like because of how much she has had to endure. I don't think her childhood is, honestly, I think it's more traumatic than, you know, anything Bruce Wayne ever went through. I mean, I'm sure that definitely fucked up his brain. Clearly it fucked up his brain, but she has been through significantly more trials and tribulations to be able to get to where she needs to go, and she still got a medical degree, and she still has a PhD.
Call me dumb. I have a PhD, motherfucker.
And she still was able to help people before she was manipulated into, because Harley Quinn wouldn't say excuse me for that either. She was manipulated into servitude. Harley Quinn, yeah, she's a jester, but she is also the main event. She is the clown show. She is everything. She is the brains behind every single operation that she had worked with the Joker. She did the work. She is the mastermind behind everything. She's the queen. You can be a jester and a queen. I do it every damn day. Now that we've gotten her origin story squared away, I would like to pull her origin into reality and tell you a little bit about how she actually came to be, because the story is, again, a woman doing a lot of the work. Now, as I was saying earlier, when they were developing this show, Harley Quinn wasn't even really like a thought out character. She was just meant to be this like background character that just kind of hyped up the Joker so he would have people to talk to, kind of like Wybie and Coraline. Like, maybe they weren't originally the idea, but we kind of needed them for fodder. When Paul Dini and Bruce W. Timm were looking for people to voice these characters, they thought about their friend that they had had. She was a comedian. She was a, like, TV host. She did a lot of very zany stuff that they thought would kind of match the Joker's character. And that woman's name was Arleen Sorkin. If you don't know who Arleen Sorkin is, you're going to by the end of this video, because she is more responsible for Harley Quinn's creation than I think anybody else. Again, I want to give people credit. I want to make sure that, like, the people who made this stuff, you know, get credit for what they do. I do that all the time. However, she kind of created the character. They ended up seeing her on an episode of a show called Days of Our Lives. If you're under the age of, like, 20, you don't know what that is, but you're over the age of that, you probably have at least heard of it because your grandparents watched it. But the plot of the show doesn't matter that much. What you need to know is that she was a guest star on that show, and she was playing a jester in a dream sequence.
I'm on at the roll, let's get it. Okay, 2 drummer boys going to a bar. Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. Boy, you're a rough crowd. You forceth me to shoot at you the moon.
Again, she's using her real voice. She's using a lot of her own personality in this character. This is just kind of who she was. Unfortunately, she did pass last year. I'm pretty heartbroken, actually, that I'll never actually get to meet her and, like, tell her how important she is to me and, like, everything that, like, I've learned from her and, like, the character and stuff, but regardless, she is the inspiration for the character. She is the character. Arleen Sorkin was Harley Quinn from the minute she walked on that set, and she essentially was so good at just what she did in her job that they created the character around her. Harley Quinn wasn't meant to be anything more than, like, maybe a couple episode thing. Like, again, she was just background. She was chaff. She was just kind of there for the Joker to have somebody to talk to because he was an established character that was Batman's major villain. But because of Arleen and because of her charisma and her personality and just the art that she put into everything that she did, they had a brand new character for this TV show that they were now going to be able to use and develop, and it became something so much different than what it was ever going to be. There are so many aspects of Harley Quinn and why did I say that weird? I was trying to say Harleen Quinzel and Harley Quinn at the same time. A lot of the really awesome aspects of Harley Quinn that have been elaborated in further media were things they just took from Arleen being Arleen. Arleen's middle name is Frances. What's Harley Quinn's middle name? Harleen Frances Quinzel. Frickin' Arleen Sorkin is Jewish. Harley Quinn is Jewish. It's a part of her character. It's like a part of, you know, her culture and what she does. You know, they have the same voice because they're from around the same area. There is not a ton of difference in between their characteristics. This is why I say she created the character, because she did. She was the muse. Now, while Arleen definitely set off this bomb of fireworks that is going to be this character, there's another woman that I think doesn't get enough credit for how she contributed to the overall public perception of the character and the respect that the character would gain, and that is the first person to play her in a live-action movie, which would have been Margot Robbie. And Margot Robbie is such an interesting person because, yes, her career started off maybe doing some more male gaze type of projects, but also, like, how else are you supposed to get into the film industry? Like, I want people to answer that for me. Like, how else would you have wanted her to do that? But despite that, Margot Robbie has made it her mission, almost, it seems, her professional mission to make the film industry and to make the world an easier place for, like, real women to live in. She has a production company that does nothing but promote, like, female stories and, like, things that haven't been talked about yet, or just weird, quirky things that girls do, because she wants girls to be treated like human beings the same way that, like, we are human beings, you know? And this, like, toxic, unrealistic male gaze version of the character is the character that she originally played. The 2016 Suicide Squad movie is a pretty perfect encapsulation of who Harley Quinn would be if she was still with the Joker in 2016, what her origin story would have been like in 2016, and how she would have behaved in that time period. Because the Snyderverse, or whatever you want to call it, talk shit about it all you want, it's probably one of the most actually realistic versions of if this stuff existed in a real world. Because look at how the Joker's dressed. He's dressed like a stupid fucking pimp who has way too many fucking shit on him. That's how dudes with Teslas dress. That's how dudes with Cybertrucks fucking dress. That's what real people do. He is like, oh, he's always been like a weird pimp like that. And her character then just adapts to his character, because that's who Harley Quinn is in this point of the story. But then... you guys have no idea how much I think this is cool. That's all I'm going to say. Margot Robbie then kind of saw the public reaction, because Harley Quinn was like the most popular character in 2016. Everybody was dressing up as her for Halloween. Everybody was quoting her. She was a very, very popular thing to come out of a universe that a lot of other people just kind of picked apart and didn't really care about. But Harley Quinn was the standout. She was the standout. And regardless of whether I think Margot actually has like a deep connection to the character, I want to believe she does. I think she does, but again, we don't really know celebrities. We only know the public perception of them, and we only know their like public facing view and what they say. But in my opinion, nobody who didn't have a connection to the character like that would have gone out of their way to make a whole new movie. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is a very different movie from a lot of other comic book stuff. Yes, it got picked apart a lot. I think there are some very valid criticisms of the film. However, what that film did essentially was cement Harley Quinn as an individual character. No longer was she going to be tied to the Joker as a character, or to the Gotham City Sirens as a character. Even though, like, that's a much more healthy, like, group of people for her to hang out with. She is now seen as an individual. And I don't think anybody gets credit for that except for Margot Robbie, because she is the one who did that in, like, the common zeitgeist of, like, what people thought about this character. She is the first one to do that. And Birds of Prey also had kind of a shitty release date. It came out right before COVID started, but that didn't stop me from watching it. That was the first movie I ever saw that made me even consider to like DC. And that's because of the way she handled the character and the way that the producers, which guess who was one of the main producers? Damn, that's crazy. And the director and everybody who was involved, they wanted Harley Quinn to be seen and taken seriously as a real, like, character that you can learn from, that can go into different situations. She can go and be herself in whatever scenario she's going to be put in next, because Margot Robbie treated her like a human being. And I hope that the other women who have been interested in her or have played her kind of understand this too. But I think one of the major reasons I've always felt so connected to her since I've, like, discovered her, and why I've always kind of related to her no matter what she does, is that I think it is a very female trait to, one, do all the work and then get no credit for it, but especially if you're somebody who's creative or somebody who is a performer. It's like, this happens time and time again in spaces that you think are going to be safe. It's like these just like mediocre men, just they can't not try to overshadow you. They can't not try to take advantage of you and then make you work for them in a way. Almost, that's happened to me so many times in, like, plays that I've done where I was clearly, like, the most talented person or the most dedicated person to what I wanted to do, and other people didn't like that, especially men. They didn't like that, and they wanted to get close to me so then they could control that or take that down. And that's her origin story. That's Harley Quinn's origin story. People victim blame her all the time, and that's just not what happened. It's just not. She didn't have, like, a ton of control over what was going on, because she was just put in a situation where somebody wanted to take advantage of her. And whether or not you're the smartest fucking psychologist or therapist or psychiatrist on earth, that might not even matter, because your childhood trauma is going to shape a lot of who you are. Again, talking about these fucking systems that Gotham has set up to oppress poor people, and then the audacity for Batman to have, like, this, like, moral high ground, and it's like, get the fuck down, Obi-Wan. Like, you're the one, you and your family are doing this. You're doing this to other people, no matter how many orphanages you open up, or how many fucking fancy cars you get, or how many blah, 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 blah. Like, this system is inherently bad because billionaires are the ones creating the negative system. They're hoarding the resources from other people. That bat rant is over for now. I just, like, I really do admire Margot Robbie, probably more than many other people. She's probably, like, my top 5, like, inspirations, just because, like, she has this, like, idea pushed on her that because she is conventionally attractive, because she is, like, blonde and thin, and, you know, what the male gaze has decided was, like, the peak beauty at the time, that she kind of has to fit into that mold. And she kind of almost, it seemed like, from what I've traced on her career, the minute she felt safe enough to start doing her own ideas, she did them. She did not succumb to the system. She did not succumb to men's ideas of her or the boxes that they wanted to put her in. She then used them to do what she needed to do. And that is the next stage in Harley Quinn's development as she leaves the Joker, because then she gets a new romantic partner. Poison Ivy looks at her like she's a human being, and she talks to her like she's a human being, and she treats her like she's a human being. And I can only hope that Margot has found a group of people that treat her the same, because the film industry, not even the film industry, people like to, like, single out, and it's like, no, it's just a representation of what's happening in real life. Like, I'm sorry, men do this in every single aspect of art or non-art subject. It's like, that's always going to happen. The goal is that you will be able to manipulate them back in a way that you will then be able to get into a position that they can't do anything to you. And in my opinion, I think Margot's gotten pretty good at that, because she is a pretty big household name now. She has her own production company. She's done a ton of shit. She has, like, a credibility that I think a lot of people didn't want her to have. And I can't help but compare that to Harley Quinn. And I really do think that Margot is one of her creators, because Margot is the one who kind of changed her perspective, I guess. Like, she is the one who put Harley Quinn into a new scenario. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, I don't think that would have been made unless somebody like Margot was really, like, hell-bent on making sure that this story was told. And from everybody I've heard who's, like, worked on that production or done anything, it's like, she was so incredibly serious about it, and she was so, it was important to her that this came out a certain way, because Harley Quinn deserves it, and we deserve it as women. We deserve to have somebody that we can relate to, and who we can see fight back against these, like, systems and these people. Like, I don't think that the Black Mask adaptation was, like, the most comic accurate. I think most people would agree with me, but however, it did its job in the film, you know? It was another systemically built up person that had all this protection around him, so, oh, you can't touch him. But guess what? You're gonna get touched. You're gonna get fucking blown up if you fuck with me now, bitch. I'm not trying to discredit anybody who has played her before that isn't Arleen or Margot, but the reason I wanted to point out Arleen and Margot is because they are kind of revolutionaries when it comes to the character. They are creators and revolutionaries of Harley Quinn, and they deserve to have the credit for that, because I think the studio system is very set up to be like, oh, well, the director's at the top, so they get credit for everything. And it's like, no, they're the organizer. They are the organizer of ideas. They are the organizer of actors. They're the organizer of pre-production, post-production, and production. They're organizers. And yeah, maybe they have some creative ideas. Maybe they have things that are coming in. But do you know how many fucking people work on a film set? Do you know how many people are, like, creatively using their brains in order to get a certain thing? You need to give specific people credit. Speaking of, some other women that I would like to give some credit to before I move on to the next part is all of the Harley Quinn stunt doubles. Holy shit! Okay, This is something, if you followed me for a while and you know this, I love roller derby. I think roller skating is really cool. I'm not very good at it. I'm trying to get better. I think it's a lot of my own self-confidence that I need to build up. But I think roller skating is such like a freeing and like powerful type of thing you need to like learn how to do at some point in your life, no matter what. And roller derby is such a hardcore like version of that is only for women. It's only for girls. And it's only for, well, I'm sure they would let you play if you were, like, non-binary or something, but you know what I mean. Like, it is supposed to be a, like, non-male gaze sport. And guess who fucking plays roller derby, bitch? Harley fucking Quinn.
She's the only comic book character on roller skates. The roller skating community loves Harley Quinn.
My favorite movie is the 2009 Drew Barrymore directed feature film Whip It. And that movie is about roller derby, but more importantly, it's about just doing what you have to do because you want to do it. You shouldn't be sitting on the sidelines just like looking at other people hoping that maybe one day you'll be given an opportunity for something. People aren't always handing out opportunities. You have to be your own hero and put your own skates on and do your own thing. And that is the whole fucking plot of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Can't think of a better fit for roller derby in an alternate universe. The world that she lives in and that this film is showing is perfect for roller derby because it is all about female empowerment. It is all about that strength.
So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of the stunt doubles who played Harley over the years or who roller skated as Harley. These girls are also very lacking credit for what they have contributed to the character and contributed to the badassness of the character, because nobody can do all of that shit alone. She's a comic book character for a reason. She is meant to be a muse and like a piece of art for us to look at and then hopefully, like, you know, enter that into our real lives to make ourselves better. I wouldn't say probably follow everything she does. She does some crazy shit sometimes, but regardless, she is a piece of art that we are then able to collaborate on and make into this like ultimate female form.
In this version, there's a lot of really amazing moves that Renae does that really speak to Harley's history as a gymnast.
Doing a fight scene is difficult in its own right, and then when you put roller skates on your feet, it changes everything. Margot is so good on the skates that anything short of those bigger double gags, she was able to do just fine.
Into this like ultimate female form of like female performance art and mental illness, and like it really is. Harley Quinn is so awesome because she is directly influenced by things that happen in real life, like real specific things that happen in real life. And so I just wanted to do a little segment about all the women that make Harley Quinn happen. And
to some of the fight skills on the skates, because I do have the stunt and fight background, it was a little more adaptable for me to learn how to do those on the skates than to teach someone who had never done martial arts how to do martial arts in roller skates, which is a very complicated thing, by the way. Tonight we're shooting part of the movie where I'm on roller skates. We have a car, I'm attached to a car. Now I have to hit a certain mark on this other car to initiate my flip and then land in the right spot for the camera. So a lot of moving parts here.
So, quick shout out to you if you have contributed to this character in any way. I definitely think that everybody deserves credit, hence why I like to emphasize certain people sometimes, because again, the film industry loves to be like, look at our award shows, look at everything we do, and then you have like 75% of the people doing the work just completely fucking ignored. That'll be the end of chapter 2, 3, I don't really give a fuck, honestly. If you like comic book movies, or if you like any type of action stuff, it is literally vital that you respect and appreciate stunt doubles, because without them and without their hard work and without their creativity, because a lot of the creativity does come from them, you wouldn't have these movies, you wouldn't have these characters. These people are just as much the character as the actor who was hired or is producing the movie, you know? I just think they're grossly disregarded in the film industry, and so I am going to make a point. I'm not going to see it be done, then I'm going to do it myself, because that's what women have always done. It's too hot to put the wig on, and my hair's already blonde, and I can't find my pink bra that goes with this. You're just going to have to enjoy the magic of the the jacket. This is my favorite. I don't know if I've said this before. This jacket, specifically, is my favorite costume piece in all cinema ever. Ever. And you're talking to someone who is like a movie buff. Like, I used to be a studio tour associate. Like, I used to not used to. I watch movies all the time. I love old movies. I love shit from any type of era. I love any type of language. I love watching foreign films. I love watching tons of fucking stuff. But keep that in mind that I am such a 20th century movie fan. This is the best thing that I've ever fucking seen in my life. So anyways, I think that about wraps it up. I get pretty angry when things I like aren't appreciated, because the reason I like things is usually like a good reason, in my opinion. Obviously I feel that way, it's my opinion, but I think especially women or female characters, especially in male dominated genres, which, let's be honest, fucking everything is a male dominated genre now, they're just kind of disregarded, and that's exactly what happens to her in the plot. Like, so I don't want that to happen to her in real life too. Again, like I said, characters are characters, they're fictional, but they're there for us to learn from. They were created by human beings. They come from somebody's human psyche. Arleen Sorkin, again, she was Harley Quinn for, like, most intents and purposes. Margot Robbie, like, has gone through a lot of the same shit, just in a different fucking font. I don't want a fucking fake woman to go through this, let alone a real woman, you know? Oh my gosh, did I just make a Barbie allegory? Everything is connected. Everything is always connected. I think Harley Quinn is really cool. I think she's important. She's my favorite character in media, probably, I would say, because she is so diverse and cool, and now she's fully LGBTQ. She is thriving. She has her own TV show now. She has a character and a theme park. She is thriving. And although I don't think that Margot will be playing her again anytime soon, and unfortunately we don't have Arleen anymore, I do think that this character is going to be very special for a lot of women, and I'm really excited to see who does it next. You know, I'm free. Just putting that out there. But, no. Here's the thing. Again, it's a character, and it's meant to bring us together, so the point, it doesn't really matter necessarily who plays it. It's how does that person play it? What do they want to put into the character? How do they want audiences to react to this character? What do they want them to learn from it? These are things that I really feel like the people who have played her have thought about a lot before, and that's why she's such a fucking banger original character. So happy birthday, Harley Quinn. I hope I did her justice in this video. Go watch Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series is fucking awesome. If you're interested in DC at all, I think that's like a Bible for it, personally, and I think most DC fans would also agree with me. A lot of times what happens with the live action stuff is there's obviously like a lot of politics and there's a lot of bullshit going on because there's international markets and there's like a ton of like money involved in shit. But when they're making a TV show that's like animated like that, like it's a lot easier for them to get out the points that they want to make, in my opinion. So I would go give that a watch. You should definitely watch Birds of Prey. If you are going to watch Suicide Squad 1, watch the Ayer cut. Ayer? Do I care? Yes, I do. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. You can go watch the Suicide Squad. Harley's fucking great in that. Again, just fucking standout character. And yeah, just go check out some stuff. I mean, there's a lot you probably don't know about her, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I have a general concept of that because of how I've heard about it, so I know about it, and it's like, but you don't know about it. Go watch stuff. I thought I knew who Harley Quinn was before 2020, and if I met that bitch now, I would have been like, you don't know shit. You don't know shit, and also you look lame, and also my hair's cooler than yours because it's blonde. So, sometimes letting the old self go will be kind of chemically imbalanced, or explosive, or just downright uncomfortable, but Harley Quinn is a great example that you can be who you were meant to be, no matter who tries to take you down, or no matter who you're tied to, or where your origin story is. You can be whoever the fuck you want to be, you just have to go do it. Put some skates on, be your own hero. Happy birthday, Harley, I love you! I should put a candle in this! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harley. Happy birthday to you. is that?